राष्ट्र निर्माता कहलाता है. Ladies and gentlemen, now it is time to call upon such an exemplary and visionary leader among us, Honorable Minister Dr. Jiten Singh Ji, to infuse the gathering with his inspiring words.
धन्यवाद रीटा शर्मा जी. पिछली बार भी इस कार्यक्रम में आप ही ने संचालन किया था और आपकी प्रशंसा आपके मुख से सुनकर बहुत अच्छा लगा था. इसलिए जब आपको देखा कि आपने मंच संभाला है तो हमारा उत्साह और अधिक हो गया. मैंने पारिक साहब से कहा कि कुछ एक जो अपनी तारीफ भूल चुके हैं आज फिर से इनके मुख से सुनने को मिलेगी. थैंक यू फॉर योर काइंड इंट्रोडक्शन. On the dais, Secretary, Department of Biotechnology, and our colleague, Dr. Rajesh Gokhale, Advisor, Dr. Alka Sharma, Dr. Jitendra Kumar, and of course, your very pragmatic Director, Dr. Parikh, members of the faculty, scientific fraternity, startups, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very providential coincidence that this ceremony and this program is happening at a time when, as Rajesh was just mentioning, Government of India has just come out with the biotechnology policy, the Bio E3. And as he mentioned, this is biotechnology for economy, for employment, for environment. And what is important is, I think, how much it has occurred to you is that this is one of the major decisions taken by the Government of India in its first 100 days of the third term. Usually the political governments don't give much of a prioritization to the scientific initiatives, but that speaks of the intent and the futuristic vision of the government headed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And to me personally, of course, that's not per se related to biotechnology. What I was actually mentioning yesterday itself, I said the three major decisions taken in the first 100 days have something or the else to do with science, innovation, and technology. One is, of course, the Bio E3. The other one was the decision to allocate 1,000 crore of venture fund for the space startups, because we just had one space startup about 3 years back, and after it was opened up for the private sector, it's now gone up to almost 300. And the third decision was Mission Mausam, which is meant to raise your weather forecast standards to the global level. So all these three decisions happening within the first 3 months of Modi government 3.0 actually indicate a huge science push which this government under Prime Minister Modi intends to give. And that, I think, is what is going to realize finally the concept of Viksit Bharat, as Prime Minister Modi keeps saying. That's why I said, and of course, added to that, if it has not occurred to you, when we had the vote on account, because when the government is going for election, you usually don't come out with the full budget, you come out with a smaller budget, which is called vote on account, meant to carry on with the day-to-day expenses, and which happened just before the Lok Sabha election was to happen, somewhere in February. And in the vote of accounts, Rajesh would bear me out, we had the provision for biofoundries. Now that is not a budget per se, that really is only with certain aspects which are absolutely essential, which can't wait for the elections to happen. But there too, we found a slot. So you can understand how much importance and how much priority this government has been giving to this sector, which was possibly either unexplored or underexplored by the earlier governments, or did not receive the kind of attention it deserved. And that also, I think, is because of the conscious realization, because we are among the first few countries who have come out with an exclusive policy devoted to or dedicated to biotechnology. And that also, I think, is indicative of the fact that the political dispensation of the country today is deeply conscious of the fact that if we are rising up an economy, as Rajesh was mentioning, we are growing by 7%, we were fragile 5, now we are first 5, then we're going to be 4, 3, and so on. Where is the value addition going to come from? So it's going to come from this sector, which has so far remained unexplored. And there's going to be an industry shift from the conventional solutions to cost-effective solutions, to cleaner solutions, to eco-friendly solutions, to modern solutions, and that's very consciously being realized with the government. And at the same time, the economy is also going to shift from manufacturing to synthetic productions, which of course will be greatly dealt by this institute and the other sister institutes of biotechnology. And therein also lies the value of the potential of the living organisms and the importance of harnessing the power of living organisms. So I think this is something, I'm glad that India has realized this before many others could do, because otherwise we were always a decade or so behind others. I always cite the example of television, which happened in the US in 1950s, and we got to see the first Chitrahar in 1970s. But it's no longer so. And in this year itself, just in the beginning, we launched mission quantum technology. We are among the 5 or 6. So also in this case. And this inauguration of the National Agri-Food Biomanufacturing Institute and the merger of two, I think is again happening at the right time, because India's scientific experts are ready to go ahead. India's government is ready to support. India's vast bioresources are waiting to be explored. And the world is ready, in fact, to learn from India's experience. And therefore, it's no longer that we were not taken very seriously till about a decade or so ago. Now we are looked forward not only to be equal partners, but also for picking up vital cues. And I think the greatest evidence, because all of us, being from the scientific fraternity, have been taught not to speak without evidence. The greatest evidence is that of the Chandrayaan-3. We are the first to land in the South Pole, and those who started much before us are waiting for the inputs and the samples collected by our mission. And so also is the case here, and therefore I'm sure what we have accomplished today, or the beginning that we have made today, is going to address a number of flagship priorities of this government, the flagship agenda of this government, which means, of course, the economic growth, the commitment to environment, because Prime Minister was the one who made this announcement that we'll go net zero by 2070. Of course, the Make in India, as symbolized by this cup, which all of us held for the photograph. And of course, that also speaks of Atmanirbhar Bharat. And as BRIC was saying, the doubling of the farmers' income. So all these are priority areas ever since Prime Minister Modi took over in 2014. And I'm glad that this institute has become part of that priority journey of this government. And one more objective that's being served today, and I'm glad that the Department of Biotechnology was the first to take a call, is the merger of the two institutes. When this thought occurred about 6, 7, 8 years back that we should stop working in silos, and now the time has come to get integrated, because if you have to grow beyond this, we can't grow without integrating with each other. The larger integration, rather the extended integration, I was saying in the meeting before that we should involve industry rather in a big way, so that they have the stakeholder. And once they invest, it'll pinch them, they'll own it. And in that move, when this appeal was made across the government that they should try to integrate the institutes which they could, or do away with the institutes which were not meant to be separate ones, so that we could work in a more holistic manner. I'm glad that the Department of Biotechnology was the first to integrate those 14 institutes, I believe, Rajesh, under a single umbrella of BRIC. And today that 14 also got reduced to 13. So did you realize that? So you brought it down. So you took the lead before the other ministries could do. I think this was the first department in the ministry, in any ministry across the government, which took that initiative at the behest of Honorable Prime Minister, and we have now today moved one step further. And this merger, I'm sure, will strengthen the collaboration between the biotechnology experts and also the bioprocessing experts. And this combined expertise will, of course, supplement our agricultural production and also the farmers' income, as was being mentioned. And BRIC NABI, of course, will be better positioned to work out collaborations both at the national level and the international level. And I must also mention the BioNest Incubation Center, which was inaugurated just now, a bridge between the research and the industry. We just had a meeting with the representatives of the industry also. And that is, of course, going to serve the purpose of innovation, entrepreneurship. I hope they will work out public-private participation in a bigger way, because I firmly believe the more is the private participation happening. And there was a lot of skepticism in this country about this thought, but we feel now abundantly vindicated and are also confident after our success story of the space sector. Because everybody was apprehensive whether to open up the space sector. Nobody had gone in. It was forbidden, actually, Sriharikota. Today, for each launching, you have tens and thousands of people watching it, and thousands of media persons. And therefore, that also leads to the demand creation and the market expansion. And I'm sure this incubator center is going to be a boon for the startups also, to provide them access to technical facilities, state-of-art infrastructure, and also technical platforms. And as was being mentioned by Rajesh, that many who went abroad with just for 2% growth now will have to also rethinking, because I think that's part of the mindset. So what is happening is the technology is moving fast, the mind is not moving equal pace. So that's the point, problem with us. And the pace of the evolution of technology is also increasing. What happened or what evolved in 10 years earlier is now evolving in 3 years. But our mindset is not. So it will take 2-3 generations. They say sanskar badalne mein 3 peedhiyan lagti hain. So that mindset of going abroad. But do you know, this time we had that German meeting, 3 days back. Last time this meeting was in Berlin. So I have this curiosity of meeting the youngsters there. So I came across almost every startup group there had maximum number of boys and girls from India. And so I asked one of the European group leaders, I said, why? So he then counted a number of reasons. He said they were very hardworking, they came with a mission mode, they were very industrious, and at the end, the last thing he said was, they don't take a weekend off. Our boys and girls disappear on Friday evening and reappear on Monday morning. So now the world has started recognizing our talent, acknowledging our talent. There was a time when our youngsters felt shy of introducing themselves as Indians. Now if they introduce themselves, that gives them a TRP for a better job or a better placement. So I think now is the time, and we also have consciously realized that in the sister department of Science and Technology, DST, we have launched a scheme called WebHub, wherein we facilitate young scientists to come back to work here. We also arrange projects for them which are compatible with their talent, with their aptitude, also their status. Maybe some of the leading institutions like IIT or Indian Institute of Science, etc. And then we are also contemplating some relaxations in getting job recruitments in the government sector if they wish to do so. But my personal experience there would be that we should be more aggressive in reaching out and telling them that, look here, now we have all that you look for there, and rather much more over here. And because the sooner they come back, the easier it is because after a few years, what happens is that they wish to come back, but the other paraphernalia that they gather over the years doesn't let them go. As the Shakespeare said, the flesh is willing, but the spirit is willing, the flesh is weak. So what happens is that they raise a family, and that doesn't let them go. So I had the example of an IITian of the 1980s who actually wanted to get back. So I suggested to him that you take a project, experiment for 2-3 years. If you feel at home, then you can come back, because you've spent there for so many years, 3 decades or so. And he was so determined and so resolved that he said, yes, I want to come back. And he said, I'll go home and wind up and then come. From there, he got in touch with us. He says, I want to come back, but my family says that choose either between us or between your project in India. And then, after introspection, he confessed to me, he said, my children, who are both of them teenagers, have not even once visited India, even for a holiday. So the point is that now I wish to go back, but they would not. So I think, because after all, you are children of the same society, you can't be keeping yourself aloof from the rest of what has been given to you by inheritance. So if you have peers, friends who are there, you can ask them. You have much here also to offer, both in terms of research, innovation, startups. We are now number 3 in the startup world in the startup ecosystem in the world. So, and when you have institutes like this one and the incubation center like this one, which are of course a world class, and they are constantly evolving now, as I said, our our scientific capabilities are no longer behind others, and others are looking forward. I think I've seen some of the countries like UK and etc. They're much behind us. In fact, leaving aside 2 or 3 countries, we are much ahead of others, both in human resources. In fact, most of their successful institutes are being run by our boys and girls. But as they grow of age, the other things hold them back. So I think this is also something, as I was talking to Dr. Parikh, I said we need to bring in more and more of awareness in the industry so that they get involved. So let them also design our projects so that they take the responsibility. They are equal stakeholders, the early industry linkage. And similarly, we also need to now, because it's not difficult in the age of social media and online information, to propagate. We can prepare small clippings of what you're doing, or small reels, which our boys are very fond of seeing. They see all kind of nonsense reels. Why not have a sensible reel as well? So you could prepare small reels doing this, and that would reach those who actually need to see them and get back to do what they are doing. Or also that would also encourage the startups, because still, particularly in northern part of India, you still have this sarkari naukri mindset. So to get over that also, because they don't know, once they realize that they can earn so much of money. And for the sector like you are dealing with, I think the other message that has to go around is that you don't have to be a very big scientist or a postgraduate or a doctorate to be a startup. What this institute is offering can be a source of entrepreneurship and a very lucrative livelihood, even sometimes if you are just a graduate, not even a graduate. In the CSIR, we have launched this Purple Revolution called Lavender. We have about 3,000 startups rolling in millions. Many of them are not even startups. I'm sorry, not even graduates. But they had that passion. They are tuned to the technology. They are upgrading themselves. And institute like this is providing them all the technical know-how, also the financial support, the market linkage. Their products, their perfumes are carried to the market in Maharashtra and Mumbai. In fact, 2 of the boys who were working in corporate sector, one the MBA, the other BTech in Bangalore, left their jobs and got back to do this. When we asked them, they said we were slogging for a corporate company 14 hours a day, and these guys, lesser qualified than us, making more money out of it. So when you make these youngsters realize that there's much, much more money outside this limited salaried government job, you would be able to actually make full utility of yourself in this society. So I think for that, we will have to be more active on our social media handles, and our websites need to be a little more. I mean, for this, for example, if today you have done this, it should have an eco effect. Let all the biotechnology institutes also tweet about it, propagate it, and don't wait for the conventional media, because they are not very much interested in it. They may take time to actually. So even when I walk out, I'm sure they're not going to ask me about biotechnology. They are going to ask me something about Jammu Kashmir or something about Wayanad. So, because they are constrained by their management. But we have realized that the kind of technology we have, we don't need to depend on the conventional media. You can create your own ecosystem. And we did that successful coastal campaign, the world's largest coastal campaign in the Ministry of Earth Sciences. We had our own studio, and we didn't even hire professionals. Our boys, volunteers all over the country, spread across the coastal area. They would send small clippings, videos. And they got so involved with it, and it was proved to be a huge success. So I think that is what is required. We are doing a lot of work, but it has to reach those for whom it is being done, so that they benefit. And I'm sure the workshop which you are holding in the month of December is going to be a step in that direction. I wish you all the best. This is one of the earliest, one of the first of its kind workshops, and I think one more first to the series of firsts that Dr. Parikh has been registering. Thank you very much.